Hi you guys, Anna Cortez here. I want to talk to you guys today about my favorite subject, which is card reading with playing cards. Now, playing cards have a long history in card reading, and we have lots of different traditions reflected in the systems that are available to us now in our modern world. We have different folk traditions. We have Victorian era traditions when card reading with playing cards really hit the mainstream. And we have the Lenormand tradition from the French. We have all kinds of things. So there's not one right or wrong way to read with playing cards. And what I want to share with you today are some of the secrets that I've discovered and that my father discovered in playing cards that make for amazing card reading. Simply really deciphering the coding that's in ordinary playing cards, hidden in plain sight, that makes for wonderful card reading where you can ask any question and even receive dates in time for your questions. And again, it's all based on the symbology that we're so used to. We're so used to seeing that we don't think about it anymore. And so it's time to look deeper at the things we already know. So I want to start off with some of the basics in the deck, which are just like the deck has 52 cards, right? 52 cards, 4 suits, right? Ace through king in each suit. So familiar. But what is going on there? Because if you start thinking about it, 52 is really an odd number for a deck of playing cards. I mean, if you were going to invent a little deck of paper cards for playing with, why would you make 52? You know? Well, let's think about that number. There's 52 weeks in a year. 52 weeks in a year. Well, maybe that's coincidence. But there's also 4 seasons in a year. Just like there's 4 suits, dividing the deck equally. You know? And what about that ace through king? Well, that seems totally random, doesn't it? Well, ace through king, that's 13 cards. Did you know there's exactly 13 weeks in each of the 4 seasons? Just like there's exactly 13 cards in each of the 4 suits, that adds up to 52. Well, if it is a calendar, why aren't we using it? Let's use it. What if the playing cards were made for a game that uses time? And that game, the only game I know of that plays with time, is the game of prediction or fortune telling. So, all that said, the only card reading system I know of that makes use of the deck as the calendar that it is the playing card oracles discovered by my father. But you can use the deck that way really easily yourself. If you just think of each card as a week of time, right? You have a little one-year calendar in your hand. And you can start peeling cards off to look ahead or behind in time. And then you can see what's going to happen or what you need to know or what the cards have to tell you about that moment in time. So I've already made some videos about some simple spreads for using the playing cards as the calendar that they are, and you can check those out. But basically, you can just cut into the deck, turn a card, mend the deck, right? Put the top back on, and then count weeks until you get to your turned card. And you have a little calendar right in front of you. a little calendar, you know, that's significant for whatever question you're asking. Just a really fun way to play with playing cards. That's totally unique. But so fundamental, you know, to what the deck is. Now, I want to share with you some other things that are super fundamental to the way that the deck is that hardly anybody's talking about, or maybe nobody except for the playing card oracle system. Red and black, right? Again, so familiar, so taken for granted in the playing cards, we don't even think about it. And so few systems of card reading even make use of it. But red and black divide the deck perfectly equally. And if you could picture the whole deck laid out with all the red cards on one side and all the black cards on the other side, you'd have something that looked just like a yin-yang symbol, right? Red and black are even the traditional colors of the yin-yang symbol, and they represent the duality of our existence, right? And I talk about this in my book. It's so simple. You could look at red cards as daytime cards. You could look at black cards as representing nighttime cards, or red cards as representing things that are very overt and out in the open, and black cards as things that are hiding or more private and secret. Red cards as male, black cards as female. You know, start to study the yin-yang and apply it to your playing card deck. It's so profound, really, and it makes the deck very sort of Tao and very Zen, and really takes it to a whole nother level and allows you to work with your deck without having to memorize all kinds of card meanings, which you can do also, and I very much encourage, and I get into that as well. But you don't have to. You can just start playing with your cards in a very organic way, right? And I think it's very interesting that all the red cards and all the black cards also have a white background. So you actually have a trinity of colors, the alchemical trinity of red, black, and white. And I talk about that in my book as well, The Playing Card Oracles. But it's interesting, isn't it, that white is a color on every card, whereas red and black are totally segregated. So I always think of the color white in the ordinary playing card deck as the possibility of transcendence, you know, transcending the duality of the red and the black. And that's our hope, our possibility, no matter which card is on the table. Okay, let's move to another super obvious thing, right? Totally taken for granted in the regular playing cards. And that is the suits. We have 4 suits, right? Diamonds, clubs, hearts, and spades. And we've already talked about how those correspond to the 4 seasons of the year. And you could use them that way if you wanted to start playing around with your playing cards. But another way that I like to use them, and there's several ways to use them, but maybe the most useful, in my opinion, for general readings, would be to assign them to the 4 elements: fire, air, water, and earth. And lots of card reading systems do this already. You know, they've got the 4 elements in the deck, but they're all different, right? Everybody assigns it differently. So I think it's really important that when you choose a card reading system that you want to work with, you have to stay a little flexible and work with whatever that system is putting forward. Nothing's really right or wrong in this regard, but if you start assigning elements to suits from a different system and try to make it fit, into something else, you could run into problems depending on the system. What I like about the playing card oracle system is that card meanings, right, actually reflect the elements associated with the suit. And by learning the card meanings, which I've already made videos for, I've already made videos for all the 52 card meanings. By learning those, you're actually learning how the elements manifest in our day-to-day life. And I think that's one of the most exciting parts about card reading with playing cards. You become an alchemist, right? You start to understand how fire, air, water, and earth combine to make the stories of our lives just by reading your card spread, right? Because the elements come alive in the card meanings, which leads me to the next topic. Numbers. Numbers are the way that the elements express themselves. Think about it. There's 52 cards in a deck, right? Seems like a whole lot to memorize, etc. But there's only 13 cards. There's only ace through king, and it just repeats 4 times, once in each element. So once you learn the meaning of the numbers, you just apply it a little bit differently depending on which element it's showing up in, fire, air, water, or earth. And this is one of the keys to making card reading easy. So if you truly understand the elements, the study of the elements, which I have in videos and in my book, The Playing Card Oracles, and you truly understand the really basic numerology that's in cards, then you just combine it and the card meanings seem so natural. And there you are working with these exciting codes that are like computer code behind our world. You know, numbers, elements, colors are like the computer code of our world. And it's like learning to read this very archetypal, fundamental code that unlocks the mystery of our world and our own psychology. Totally mind-blowing, totally exciting, totally all there in ordinary playing cards. You know, hard to believe, just hard to believe. Really exciting. And so as regards the numbers, you know, there is a little bit of special numerology with the deck because you've got these weird court cards, right, that don't fall into traditional numerology. And court cards are the personalities or the archetypes of personality that you have in the deck. They're the gods and the goddesses of the deck. And in playing card history, you know, historical decks that first came into Europe, there was something a little different than what we have now in our most modern day decks. Cards of the number 10 were part of the court. They were part of the court, and this makes perfect sense from a numerological point of view. Ace through 9, or the cards 1 through 9, are the root numbers of numerology. And anything after that is a whole different order of numbers. And those are the court cards. And just like the king has a younger counterpart, right? The king likes to stay in his chamber and send his younger counterpart out to battle. He needs a jack. The queen also needs a younger counterpart to do her bidding. And the lady card is what was lost historically. So I like to use the 10 as the lady card that it was historically. And The playing card oracle system reflects this in its illustrations and the way that we use it. But how important is it to have a balance between male and female? And why aren't we doing this? Well, I'm doing it. I hope more and more people do it. I can't imagine using a card deck for card reading with an imbalance of male and female, right? How can this even be? It's time to restore the balance, guys. And it's also really cool when you add a lady card in there, because you now have two older court cards or more mature personality archetypes in the king and the queen, and you have two younger archetypes as well in the jack and the lady, expressing more experimental, more youthful perspectives within their given suits. And it just creates a whole balance throughout. And the deck is all about harmony. The true playing card deck is all about harmonics and balance and natural law. Yay! Oh my gosh, I love sharing this with you guys. I hope this is getting you excited about playing card reading. So again, I could go into all the numbers and what the meanings are and the court cards and all that, but I've already made videos for that, and I don't think this is the place for it. But check out my Oracle School for sure. There's a playlist at my YouTube channel. Okay, the last little thing I want to mention is binary code. This is just kind of taking things to another level. And if you know any computer programmers or you are a computer programmer, this is especially for you. The deck is all binary code. It's all red and black, and it's all odd or even by virtue of the numbers. There's different layers of binary code happening every time cards are laid out on the table. You have a code on the table. And I talk about this in my book as well, The Playing Card Oracles, and I lay out a really simple way of using the binary code that's already there in an ancient divinatory form called geomancy. This is the first method of card reading that combines geomancy with playing cards. Playing cards actually create divinatory geomancy, and it's a really fun layer to add to your card reading. It's not rocket science. It's not even computer programming. Well, I guess it is on a very basic level, but there's so much more possibility here. So much more possibility. I mean, I feel like this topic, we're just scratching the surface, and I invite you to explore and experiment, and don't feel confined to creating the divinatory geomancy. Let's make computer code. Let's create languages. Let's do all kinds of things with the binary coding that's in playing cards. Just completely mind-blowing. So thank you so much for watching this video. Check out my book, The Playing Card Oracles. It's available in ebook and paperback if you are excited about this topic. And make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thanks so much for watching.